Lions Talk efirdədir.
Hello everyone, welcome to the second episode of Lions Talk. I'm Nurlan.
And I'm Jahan. We're students at Landau School, and today we've got a really interesting episode.
Because our guest today is Daniel Pierce. He's an experienced school leader
And career advisor at Landau School.
Daniel, thanks so much for joining us today. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, welcome. We're really glad you could make it.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. It's a real pleasure.
All right then.
Lion Talk starts now. So, what was the time when you realized you wanted to become a school leader?
Well, it's an interesting question, really, because, you know, since my early childhood, I've always been sort of looking at naturally being a leader, whether that be sort of when I was in school myself, or whether I was in my football team or my rugby team. I was always sort of a natural leader. So when I entered my career at the early stages, I suppose it was just felt normal. It felt right to sort of push myself to become a leader. And that took shape when one of my first jobs, which was a hotel manager, actually, which was quite an interesting job, quite different. But when I got into education, it just felt the same, really. I was a teacher and I liked being in the classroom. I still like being in the classroom. But I realized I could help more people by being a leader. And that's why I decided, okay, no, I'm going to push myself to become a leader and to try and make a difference in some students' lives.
What leadership lessons have you learned from mistakes or challenging situations?
Well, I think, unfortunately, there's been plenty of them. I find it's very easy to learn from mistakes, and it's very easy to grow from them. And that's in any part of your life, whether it's personal, your career, I don't know, in school. You guys are students now, right? It's much harder to learn when things are going right. So when things are going smoothly and there's nothing to learn, there's nothing to take away from it other than, okay, whatever I'm doing is happening is, it's good. That's harder to grow from. It's harder to reflect on yourself when everything's going well. When things go wrong, I feel like it's natural for humans to sort of be hard on themselves and to think, okay, what's going wrong? Why is it going wrong? So leadership's the same. There's not much difference. When you make a mistake, when things aren't going well, then of course you naturally just start to think and you start to go, okay, I can move on from this. Personally, I've had many mistakes, unfortunately, in my career, like I said, but I've grown from them. So one example would be even when I join a school, I feel like within a couple of days, everyone's going to be like, yeah, let's listen to Daniel. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, everything's going to be fine. But actually, I learned very quickly that it actually takes a long time. People often think like, who's this guy? Why should we listen to him? And so it takes time. I learned over time that, it takes time for people to trust you. It takes time for people to believe in you. So you just got to have like a solid direction, solid vision. And after a while, people will start sort of naturally begin to buy into it. So that was like one of the hardest lessons that I learned as like a young leader was, okay, not everyone wants to listen to you, and sometimes I don't even want to listen to myself. But, it's one of them. And, I think now when, whatever leadership position I'm in now, I'm always thinking, okay, no, let's set some realistic goals for myself. Let's set some, let's start on building relationships first. Then we can focus on, the next step.
So, as far as we know, you've worked in Vietnam. What are the differences between working here and there?
Yeah, I worked in Vietnam for around 3.5 years. So, it was a long time. The first, obviously, big difference is the weather. The weather over there is crazy. Like, it's super, super hot all year round. And then for 2 weeks, it gets really cold. So you have to change your whole wardrobe in 2 weeks. But in terms of work, one thing that really shocked me, genuinely shocked me, there was nap time, Mm-hmm. So you imagine this, right? I work in a school full of kids and there's nap time. So you would think the kids nap, right? No, the whole school, staff, principal, everyone around about 1 o'clock starts napping. So my first day, I was sitting in the office, right? I sat down and it came to I had my lunch, I came back and I was sitting there then out of nowhere, everyone starts pulling out these mattresses and pillows and duvets, you know. And I'm like, obviously don't have one. And I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And within like 2 minutes, people have turned off the lights and are fully sleeping in the office. And it's just me, just like, you know, working. And I was like, you know, what's this? So that was like that was real like eye-opener. Just like, I mean, I didn't get into nap time, by the way. I just carried on working. But that was a huge difference. I think the expectations in Vietnam is like, you know, anything below 90% is a disgrace. And like the parents want their kids to get above 90 on everything. And even when they get 90, it's like, why did they lose 10%? Where I think here, fortunately, there's a sort of better understanding that actually, no, getting 90 on a test or getting 100, as long as there's, you know, development, that it's better. Yeah, when working in Azerbaijan, I found, you know, all the people, the students, the other staff members are a lot more respectful towards teachers here. I think culturally, you're a lot more respectful towards teachers, which is nice. Where in Vietnam, it's quite a dynamic situation. There's quite a lot of friction there between parents and teachers. But yeah, I mean, I love my time in Vietnam. I'm happy I went and got to experience that. It was pretty interesting. One of the major lessons I learned from being a leader there and a leader here is that you have to be adaptable. Adaptability in international schools is so important, because the things that I did there don't necessarily translate here. The things that work there may not work here. So it's always about being adaptable in the international school scene. You know, it's a bit different if you're working in like a local business or something. But yeah, so, you know, they're used to quite strict leaders. You know, they're quite imposing figures. As you guys probably know, I'm not that kind of guy. So I had to improve that side of myself and, you know, be a bit more hardline, which was fun, but also challenging. And then, so when I came here, I realized that going down a similar route probably isn't what I should do. So it was all about learning, becoming adaptable. And yeah, I think that's the main key takeaway of when I compare the two, you know.
Okay, what was the main purpose of coming to Azerbaijan?
Probably my wife. She forced me to come here. So no, but the actual answer is my wife, of course. We met in Barcelona, and then, you know, when we wanted to get married and stuff, we came back to Azerbaijan, so to be closer to family. Plus, obviously, I was interested. I've traveled a lot around the world, and she was the first person I'd ever met from Azerbaijan. And the only reason I knew about Azerbaijan actually was because of the F1. That was the only reason why I was aware of, you know, the country of Azerbaijan. So yeah, we came here. You know, we lived in Vietnam for a bit, and then we moved here. Just the main reason was to have our wedding, but also to be closer to our families, because, you know, Vietnam's like 12 hours away from the UK. It's very far away from here. So when we moved here, it was a good move all around, I think.
And how did you meet each other? How did you communicate?
Okay, yeah. Actually, we met on a teaching course. So I very randomly just like decided to become a teacher. Like one day my mum was like, oh, why didn't you go down education route? And I was like, okay, I will do this, because I wanted to travel. I wanted to move. I wanted to leave the UK, pretty much. So I found this teaching course that happened in Barcelona. And then on the first day, we were put into groups and stuff, and then me and my wife were paired together. So maybe it was fate, I don't know. How do we communicate? Well, it was an English teaching course, so obviously her English was pretty good at the time. So yeah, we just communicated in English. But my first day, I was straight from Liverpool, so my accent was very, very strong. So like everyone, including my wife, everyone in the course struggled to understand anything that I was saying. So that was quite funny. But then mainly just through English, and we had it was good.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And you said you wanted to leave UK. Why would you want to leave UK?
Yeah, I think so. After I finished university, I got a normal job. And my plan was to go traveling. That was like the number one thing I wanted to do after university. And when I mean traveling, I mean like 6 months, just leave the country, 6 months backpacking around Asia. So I did that. And then when I came back, I was just like, wow, the UK is so boring. And I was like, I was very close to getting on like this really good sort of grad scheme, like graduation scheme. Once that didn't work out, I was like, okay, I need to do something different. And I was just pretty fed up with the weather. Really, the rain. In the UK, it rains so much. It's not a joke. And like, I was getting so fed up after like 6 months in Asia where the weather's amazing, Yeah. So after that, I was like, you know what? Let me go and see what it's like. If it's good and I like it, then I will continue to live outside the UK. Yeah. And that was 8 years ago, I think. I think it's been 8 years. Around 6 to 8 years I've been outside of the UK now. So good decision, because now I'm here with you guys.
Was it hard for you to adapt? Like you have been in 3 different countries. Yeah.
So of course, and like I mentioned before, right? Adaptability is really important in leadership, but adaptability is just really important in life. Because I see some people, some of my friends, some of my family. They're born in one place, they grow up, they work, and then their whole life is in one place. And I struggle to understand how that exciting that can be. Yeah. And I question, are they adaptable? What happens if they start a new job? Like, do they struggle? When you're adaptable and when you're easily adaptable to different places, it makes it like, makes your life in general a lot easier. But of course, there were some culture shocks, of course. Some of the food in Vietnam, the way of life in Barcelona was a bit different. And then some of the things here, like the driving. The driving here, in the UK, it's so easy to drive. You don't think you just drive. Here, it's, a different story. It's like constant stress for me. So, yeah. But you have to take everything. You have to be aware of everything. I think that's the main thing, is being aware of like, okay, I'm in a different country. This is their way of life. I'm from a different place. Yeah. So, it takes patience, but I think, you can achieve that quite easily. You have to have the right mindset, I suppose. Yeah, but good question.
You said that everyone had difficulties understanding you when you were back in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Can you please speak with your own accent?
Oh my God. Yeah, so obviously I'm used to getting asked this question because it's we have a very strange accent. So our accent is called a Scouse accent. So I could say something like this though. Come round ours later, lad. Do you have any ideas what that means?
No.
So it means like, are you coming round to my house later?
Oh
mate?
My God.
Yeah, lad.
Yeah. So we have, and we change our words completely. So we have one which is like our kid.
What's that?
Our kid means like my brother.
Oh.
Yeah. So you go, have you seen our kid? And it means, have you seen my brother?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's so hard for people to understand us, really.
I think this is the most concerning question for all students, including us. And what do you think, which one is better? Which one would you recommend, taking IBs or A-levels? Yeah, I suppose it's a pretty important question for us school leaders as well, right? Because I would say they're probably the highest level sort of curriculums that you can take. If you leave schools with either your A-levels or your IB DP diploma, then I think you're in a good place if you get some good grades and stuff. IB and A-levels, the way I differentiated it in my last school was, if you're leaning towards more of a like going to the UK for your university, then I would say A-levels are more suited for you because there'll be almost like a natural continuation. But then if you're applying to America or you want to go to Europe, that naturally leans itself more towards IB and the IBDP program. They are both pretty challenging. They, they both have their positives and negatives. It was interesting for me to have them both in one school. That was quite challenging. But, I can really see, what I liked about IB was it was more student-centered, more inquiry-focused, where with Cambridge, it's more knowledge-heavy, content-heavy. So you can see, how the two play off each other. But, I think, they both have their positives, definitely.
Yeah. And what do you think about AP? Why do you think it's not as popular as A levels or IBs?
Really good question. I think IB, DP, and A levels are more prestigious. You know, they've been around probably for longer. More people have them. You know, when you go and research a uni, right, it probably tells you, you know, the first two is like A levels, then it's like, you know, IB, DP. You know, and that's because of just popularity. Do I think it may change? Yeah. I think there's less restrictions on how you do APs. Like you can do them at an earlier age, you can do more, which makes it sort of more, I think will be more appealing, especially in the international scene. But I just think it's more about sort of the history behind A levels and IB, right? Everyone knows what they are. If you go to Hong Kong University and you go to, you know, Oxbridge, they're both going to know what an A level is or an IB DP is. But maybe the APs may be a little bit behind that right now. But the most important thing is that you do your best and you get the best grades possible. You know, if you end up getting really high points on IB DP, really high grades on A level, you're going to be in a good situation, you know.
So, as you know, not all universities require IBs and A levels. What do you think about SAT and IELTS?
Yeah, so of course, SAT IELTS will get you to your, let's say, university only if you have your high school diploma, right? So whether students are studying SAT and IELTS, that just those two will, you know, in my opinion, should be added with a, you know, high school diploma, whether that's attestat, you know, is it attestat dim, the same, I don't know what you guys call it, but you know, if you compare your SAT and IELTS with that, then of course you get like a good grade in your SATs, high score in your IELTS, then of course, yeah, you can go to these universities. And for some people, that might be more straightforward and more suitable for them than doing IB, DP and A levels or even APs. The one thing I would say is there's a bit of a misconception around IELTS in this country. I know because I was an IELTS examiner back in the day. Most schools require, like the best of the best schools will probably only require a 7 on your IELTS.
Yes.
But some people are like, I know I have to get 8, I have to get 8.5, I have to get 9. That's not the case, you know. Most people, most universities, even the top universities in the world will probably only want to see a 7. So once you get your 7, guys, just relax, take it easy, you know.
Okay. You also said that you had both A levels and IBs in your previous school. How did you deal with it?
Yeah, so we didn't necessarily have A levels. We had IGCSE and AS level, but yeah, we had Cambridge and IB in the same school. That was pretty challenging. Yeah, it was pretty difficult. I think the short answer is we had some really strong teachers. You know, when you are a leader, you can only really be as good as your team. And we built a really good, strong team over there, and I'm, you know, thankful for them. But you know, also you just have to. IB, I think, is a lot about skills, especially in the primary years, the PYP, and the middle years, MYP. Yeah. It's a lot about skills. It's a lot about learning how to research, learning how to learn. You know, so if you can sort of get to the point where you can teach the knowledge and then have the additional bit of skills on the side, which, you know, takes a bit of time. But once you have those skills, then when you get to the DP level and you have the knowledge that you took from Cambridge, plus the skills that you have from IB, then you're going to be in a really good place. And vice versa, if you have the knowledge that you learn from, you know, the middle years program with Cambridge, and you have the skills of IB and you go to A levels, you're also going to be in a really good position. So that's what we try to do. We try to keep the content of Cambridge in the primary and middle years, but then add the IB skills throughout those curriculums, and that led to some like really strong results. So yeah, about being flexible and adaptable again, guys. Yeah.
In your experience, what makes curriculum most effective for international students?
Another good question. Well prepared, guys. I believe you did it all by yourselves as well.
Yeah.
Of course.
So let me ask you guys, what do you like learning? So you do SAT IELTS, right?
Yeah.
And then you do.
I would want to take A levels and APs.
But you currently do GCSEs, right?
Yeah.
So you're in the
doing
Cambridge
GCSEs.
program and you're doing SAT IELTS.
SAT.
Yeah.
What do you like about your? Let's start with you. What do you like about your? What you learn? What do you like about it?
SAT and IELTS.
Yeah, well, everything that you learn in school. What do you like about it?
I really like how they teach and like for example, in SAT, SAT math is a lot easier than IGC math, and it's really easier. About SAT verbal, it's tough, you know.
Yeah.
It's very, it's way harder than IELTS. Yeah.
So
It's challenging actually.
Yeah. So, but do you like that challenge?
Of course.
Okay. So this is one crucial element of what makes a good curriculum is the challenging factor, right? If it was too easy for you, for me, everyone, then no one would want to do it, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
So there's one very important point. What about
And
yourself?
for
Cambridge program.
IGCSE Cambridge program, I really like the structure that all the questions repeat themselves. And also I like the fact that I'm the type of person who would probably sit and learn everything and then write it on paper. And I like it. I like paper-based exams. I like that everything, like, it's a fact. Everything that they ask, the answer that you give is a fact. Yeah.
Yeah, so again, that's another really important point is, especially with the Cambridge program, it's sequential. So like you learn, let's say you learn about, I don't know, change in history. Well, next year you'll continue to learn about change in history, but to a much deeper degree.
Level.
And every year it works up like this. So you build knowledge in Cambridge. And in most international curriculums, it's about this progression over time, which is really important. So you two raised some really good points. And I think what is sort of what makes international curriculums the most effective is when you have the flexibility to contextualize them to the country that you're teaching, right? For example, I have a background in history. I taught history to all different grades. The way I teach something in Vietnam is very different to the way I teach it here. The topics, the modules that I pick throughout history in Vietnam were different to the ones I teach here. Why? Because I wanted to make it relevant to my students. Because if you two are learning about kings and queens of England, I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's boring.
I mean, even I found it boring, you know. So it would be meaningless to you. But in the UK, most state schools in the UK teach about the monarchy, right? But no, here I would rather talk about, I don't know, the Ottoman Empire, the Silk Road, something like this, right? So this has a direct link to your history, this context. So I think that's super important. I think I probably say it goes far to say it's the most important thing is how well you can adapt that curriculum to your context.
Okay, and I'll go a bit off topic. What is your favorite historical event?
Ooh, very good question. So I'll tell you what I specialized in. So I spent like a whole year studying this, right? Yeah. In my third year at university, I studied the partition of India in 1947. So India, Pakistan and Bangladesh were all one big country.
Yeah.
Well, then the British left. They like gave independence. And on the way out, they messed everything up. As always, British people don't do a great job in history. So yeah, that was what I specialized in. In terms of teaching, I would say I love teaching about ancient Rome. I think that's a pretty cool topic. And you can still see like a lot of their stuff today. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, probably what I specialized in. Unfortunately though, I haven't had an opportunity to teach that in schools yet. So yeah. But that was a good question. Thank you. Was
history your favorite subject?
No. Yes and no. No, for the first 9 years of history, I hated it. I really couldn't be bothered. My teachers were pretty awful. But then in grade 9, I got a really, really interesting teacher. He made history really fun. So after that, yes, definitely. History, geography as well. I'm a humanities guy.
Same.
What's your favorite subjects? Now history?
My favorite subject is history.
Well
Business studies.
Oh, okay. You're going to be a businessman?
Yeah. Finance.
Oh, I can tell by your outfit.
Thank you.
And how do you personally define student-centered learning in practice?
Yes, student-centered learning is quite, I think it's like a catch word in education now. Everyone's like trying to say, oh, student-centered learning. I think very simply put is when, when the students are the main focus of the lesson and they are doing lots of things in a very simple way. For example, do you like lessons where the teacher just stands in the front and talks?
No.
It's boring. It's boring, right? You want to like switch off, fall asleep maybe, right? That's teacher-centered learning, right? So teachers are the main character in the classroom, and they're just, chatting and you're just listening. Student-centered learning is when the students are doing the most talking. So they're the guys they're the people in the classroom who are, moving their learning forward. So probably your favorite lessons are when you guys can talk to the person next to you or in a group, right?
Yeah, group works.
Yeah, group work is great. And you probably learn more in group work. And all the new data, all the new research actually suggests when there's a lot of student talking time in the lesson, they learn a lot more. So that's how I view student-centered learning. Basically, when you give students the opportunity to talk and to be the leaders of their own learning within the classroom.
Which types of data are most useful to you when making academic decisions?
Let's start here. Data is probably the most important thing when you make decisions, right? If you make an informed decision with data, then obviously your chances of making a positive change is much higher. So when it comes to education and classrooms, I think a lot of people would get really, really stuck and focused on summative assessment data. Summative assessment data is, you know what summative assessments are? Basically, your important tests, like when you sit down, GCSEs, A-levels, the end of year tests.
Yes.
These are summative assessments. So everyone can get super focused on this.
Yeah.
When actually, that may or may not tell you the full picture, right?
Okay.
For example, you might sit in class working every day super hard and you've actually learned a lot. And the day of that test, you wake up and you feel sick and you perform badly on the test, for example.
Yeah.
So if I only look at the summative assessment data, I would think that you're a bad student, for example. And vice versa. If you do nothing in class all year round and then you revise really well the day before the exam, all the right questions come up and you get 100%.
That's exactly what I do.
I won't tell myself.
Same.
That doesn't give me accurate data about you and what you do every day. So what we have to do, we use summative assessment data, but we should also use formative assessment data.
Okay.
So what the day-to-day small quizzes, the questions, how your participation, all of these things that matter, we should also look at this data. But the main thing, I suppose, that I look for personally is progression. I don't really care if you come to my school and you start at 5% is your maximum.
Yeah.
As long as that number keeps on going up every single year, then I'm happy, My biggest concern is if you come to me and you're a 90% student and you go to an 85%, then that's my concern because you're not improving, right? So for me, with the way I view education, it's all about progression over time. Can you get better? Are you a better person, a better individual, a better learner? That's the most important thing for me.
Okay.
And that goes for my students and for the teachers and staff that I work with as well.
And one of the core values of Landau is perseverance. How do you define this word?
Perseverance, that's another amazing question. Well done. Perseverance, I think it's very easy when you get knocked down or when you struggle with something, you have a roadblock to sort of, to use the English term, throw your toys out the pram and start crying, right? Perseverance is actually when you see a roadblock, thinking, no, I'm going to work even harder to get through this. I'm going to push myself even harder to overcome this. These kinds of individuals are the ones that I see. Like when I look at my friends, my family, the people around me, those who show high levels of perseverance are actually the ones who are the most successful because they are not deterred by anything or anyone. Yeah. They just keep on going and they keep on trying. So I think that's why it's one of our core values at Landau, definitely.
What excites you the most about the future international education and what skills would students need the most?
I think with education, especially international education, when you look at the data coming from new startups and new businesses, We've seen a huge growth in tech, right? And a huge growth in like financial tech, med tech, like, health technology. I think very soon, if not already, education will start to get this sort of focus, and companies will start to try and create ed tech companies. So I feel like in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll see a huge growth in the use of technology within schools and what we can do with it. And I also think education is going down the personalization route. So people are trying to tackle the issue of, okay, how can we personalize education yet still have it functioning as it does, with 20 students in a classroom, but everyone is learning what they need to learn. And these two things are linked, The most of the ed tech that's happening is trying to help with this situation of personalizing education. And what I hope that I would see is the same for teachers, and schools, like teachers also getting, support with their workload and everything that they have to do with these ed tech companies as well. So that really, really excites me. And I think hopefully we'll get, we'll see some huge improvements over the next few years. In terms of skills, I think maybe morally, like the perseverance, these kind of things will be becoming more important, especially with the growth of AI. Students who actually put in the work and students who actually put in the work, and students that, do their homework and don't ask ChatGPT to do it for them. I think there'll be a huge difference between those individuals and those who just sort of, just do it quickly. Teacher won't shout at me, all good. But in terms of, what to do in the future, in terms of other skills, I think critical thinking will be really important. Can students think critically? Can they question what they're learning Socratically? Can they, push themselves to think out of the box, so to speak? This will become more and more important. And in my opinion, it'll become more and more valuable in the job market, people who can do these things.
Okay. And I'll also go a bit off topic again. My dream is to get accepted to an Ivy League university.
Okay.
And why do you think it is that hard to get accepted to the Ivy League university?
Good question. I think the world's become more globalized, so more people can access this education now. So more people will be able to come from the likes, Eastern Asia, Southern Asia, maybe different parts of the world. More people are able to access this education, these institutions, which means there's more applications.
Yeah.
I also think access of knowledge of how to get in has also been shared with more people. So therefore the standards are getting even higher and even higher. And when I've met the Ivy League schools like Brown, UPenn and other ones, they've always asked for the same thing: critical thinking and authenticity. And I think that's because they're seeing people get four A-levels, 5 APs, volunteering, projects. They're seeing this profile again and again and again. So they start to look, I think in the future, they'll start to look more towards the individual and the character as well. Yeah. Not to say that grades will not be important. I think grades will increase their importance over this time as well. But yeah, doesn't mean that you can't achieve it. And I believe in you. I'm sure you'll get there if you work hard.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Daniel, I want to ask last question. And if you would be in our position, like studying at Landau School, what you would do at this moment?
It's very interesting, as someone who looks at careers and the growth of AI, it's becoming a bigger and bigger and bigger question mark. And sometimes I feel like I have the answer. Sometimes I feel like I don't have the answer. Yeah, I would probably focus a lot on developing my overall character, following passions. I think that in the future will become more and more apparent. I think that doing the things that you love will become more accessible in the future with the growth of AI. If we're talking like strictly career, like what would you do? Where would you go? I would focus a lot on trying to get a very high level of maths, actually. Pretty high level of like, so that would lead you to machine learning, these kind of things. Because at the end of the day, these robots, these AIs, these robots,
Yeah.
you know, they need someone somewhere to program them and to fix them and stuff. So yeah, I would sort of go down that route. But I would certainly focus on my passions and really focus on, okay, what do I enjoy doing? You know, if you can go down a business route, something like this, then of course that will be helpful because you can turn your passion into a business, right?
Internships as an example.
Exactly, yeah. So if I were you, I'd be, you know, pushing myself down these avenues, trying to do internships, coming and speaking to me as much as you can, and I will help you. But yeah, that's what I would do. What are you thinking of going into?
I'm going to like business stream.
Okay.
Finance, accounting.
Okay, yeah. You said yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that'd be pretty nice. Any idea?
What I would choose?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going through like international relations, political science.
Yeah, so AI will never replace diplomacy and politics. So that's one thing. So definitely, yeah, I think you two are in good positions. So just try and take every opportunity that you can. Every opportunity that presents itself, I think, take it and use it the best that you can.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure you guys will have a ton of success.
Thank you so much for the advice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Okay, Mr. We're really glad to have you here today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for answering all our questions.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I've really enjoyed it, guys. And I look forward to seeing where you guys go in the future.
And now we want to thank you for your attention and time.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay tuned.